what they were fighting for is the freedoms. These freedoms were very important as human beings. Like, we would love to have a space where you can express yourself, you can take responsibility of your own actions, you take responsibility of what you say, and also the development that is there. They needed the space where the dynamics that started to change in the 1890s, coming to 1924, when the British South African companies came to Zambia and started to bring in their own system and undermining the systems that governed the people, especially that has to do with traditional leadership, eliminating and reducing the space where ICH, especially intangible cultural heritage, would be exercised and freely people expressing themselves. Now, we need to understand that these are people who came for business, and the businessman has to look at what is to their advantage, and they had loyalty to the Queen in England, and they had to put up, first of all, as I'll come later on to comment on, the education system that will bring the glory and the praise to the Queen, because that was their master at that particular time. And fast forward, the system got bad as many people were now working and laboring to build the economy that was not theirs. And you become the laborer in your own land. That would have been very painful, that we now see the young nationalists fighting and becoming rebels and doing civil disobedience, among other ways, in order to reclaim the space. So when it came to 1964, there was a reality to some extent that these young, ambitious leaders got their political independence. We had to change the name from being Rhodesians to Zambians, connecting ourselves to the roots of Yambezi. We get to be connected to Zambezi, and we need to appreciate that the name is coming from the source of the Zambezi River. That is, for us, it's life. So that would have been the ground for us to get to the reality of what independence was, without demeaning the efforts that our leaders promoted. It became very eminent between 1967 and 1972. Like Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, then the president, kept to repeat what we need to now check on, like, are we realizing that political independence without cultural freedom and economic independence, it's a mere an academic, as it were. So this became very important for that generation to fight for independence. One of the ways they had to try is get the systems that will reflect the Zambian setup, the system that will reflect the knowledge, the indigenous knowledge. Of course, for many people find, okay, it doesn't exist in the books for the West. So one-party participatory democracy can never be glorified in any way. But in a greater sense, that was the way of trying to respond to the need that was there. We needed to govern ourselves with a system that will respond to our needs. And there was a need for a united nation, one Zambia, one nation, right? And trying to do this, bring about economic development. However, there were limitations in the implementation of that, and unfortunately, we didn't pick the leaf from the mistakes that our leaders would have made to make the independence a reality. The most dangerous aspect is what we are afraid of today. The liberties of the citizens were trampled on. They were not so much honored and respected. And this might not be the blame so much on the leaders only, but also to the citizens. sometimes leaders are kind of created into monsters by the followers. Because the followers, the leaders will respond, okay, people are okay. They are not able to even cry when their rights are stamped on. Then it means it's right, it's okay. Yeah. They're bringing the praises. So with that said, today in the question is, are we really free? I find that yes, there is freedom. We are able to, in one way or another, express ourselves with limitations and access certain education system, which is the one which is colonizing. We then get ourselves worst of all colonized by the region. We fail to express ourselves in terms of our cultural beliefs. We fail to do certain rituals because we'll be condemned in the face of the region, in the face of the education system that we have adopted, in the face of the people seeing it's like it's un-Zambian. It becomes un-Zambian if it doesn't fit the categories of basically the cap of the whites or not even the whites, they're not trying to use that terminology. We say the West or outsiders that will create what is right, and even the democracy, we would have to exercise it as it fits the definitions of those who actually at some point colonize us. The West colonization, I think, happening where we are losing it and making a really independent myth is how we are stamping on our own liberties. That we can't use the dialogue spaces that will help us. Like, look at the justice system in our local environment and the various ethnic groupings. People have a way of dealing with a case immediately. Justice will be administered by the people attending that particular court session. But here we are in our space. Even if there is a normal case, many cases the judicial system gets to politicize just a minute. Even our judges in their own respect, could they only have wisdom then when they wear a wig? They can't speak when they are in their own normal attires? Those are some of the questions maybe we need to explore. To whose interest is our education system working, as I mentioned earlier, yes, as we are celebrating 56 years of potential to be free and to be independent? How responsive is our education system to our own space? Maybe for the sake of the guests and the moderator there, I have too much energy to talk. Others could chip in and just check. But the key word is at the point where we are, independence as 1964, looking at what the young nationalists went through, politically, it was a reality. We managed to get the colonizers off the seats, and we had the capacity to start ruling ourselves, which we started. And through the phases and times, we are failing even to learn from the past. We have gotten into having it as a myth. Not really there. We are still 56 years of potential. I'll keep repeating this way. We are potentially free. We have the potential to be free.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Muponda. I love your view where you do not say it's a myth or it's reality, but it's in your view, we have potential. It's 56 years of potential to be independent. I like that view. But then before I think our guests come in, there's something which you mentioned, which I think I found quite interesting to say. We look so much to our leaders to get this direction without doing enough ourselves. What you're saying is that as citizens, we should also be responsible for our own world. We should be responsible in our own small way for the affairs of this country. I like that. Can you elaborate more on that?
Yeah, just as like maybe earlier, if those who have had the interaction in the wind and the windmill, I like using that analog. as a basis from even our traditional point of view, teaching around leadership and the responsibilities of those who are following. The wind will dictate which direction the windmill would go. So the citizenry, when they get naive and they begin to accept like there is no freedom, we can't assemble, we can't associate, it means we are actually glorifying the leaders by them thinking, okay, what they are doing is right. And we begin to create what I can call monsters, that we begin to fear them such that they become bigger than even the systems that exist. Because not even the Western system allow for space where citizens can't voice how they feel. Citizens have to live in fear that if I complain about load shedding that is unsubstantiated and not even explained, like I can become like, okay, I'm against somebody, I'm against the leadership. And those who are sympathizers for leader, they can come for your throat. So it's the meaning for me is where the citizenry would pause. I love one clip I was watching by a Nigerian preacher, and he was talking. He was using a very popular Christian verse of Jesus visiting the tombstone of Lazarus, and Jesus says, "Remove that." So he says, "It's the citizenry who have the capacity and the responsibility to remove leaders." Imagine if we are to use the day which for some people it has meaning, which comes before we celebrate the potential of a nation every October on the 18th. Imagine we use that day and we gather at heroes and all the spaces that the citizen will have, and summon the authorities that are there saying, look, we want independence, not potential. We can't be celebrating potential. So today we are not praying for and fasting for any. We want you to reconcile with us by leaving those positions, and or do what we want and do the dictate what is required. That we need the space where we can express and be who we are as Zambians. We want a space where we can express our views. We want a space where I can dream of being an entrepreneur and the systems and the enablers are there. So we use that particular space to make our views heard. Because even in our traditional system, if we have a powerful, abusive, and arrogant chief or king, the subjects will just gather and say, our leader, we know by the powers and invested in you, you have failed us. And they will either dethrone the leader or the leader will begin to dance to the needs of the demands of the subjects. Basically, even the use of the word subjects, not there, it's just the owner of the land, Benechishi. So it's from that point that I think leaders, as citizens, we need to take responsibility. And one of the major things that is missing, the missing link is the citizen, we don't seem to know what we want. And each one is like for himself. We have thought to put the community and the society first, and we are putting our own interests. And similarly, the politicians will respond to that particular person's base who is influential. And it means the other ones are shuttered out.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I think I'll allow our guests to come in and make their comments. Betha, Jesse. Comments, we're looking at Zambia at 56. The Independent Zambia in 2020, myth or reality? And according to Sydney, it's actually potential to be independent. We cannot really say we are independent. What are your comments? Yes, Jessie.
Hello, I hope everyone is doing well.
Yes, we are, and you're welcome.
Thank you so much. As for now, I think I'll just like to listen into the views.
Okay.
Because yeah, I mean, I just wanted to get the understanding of what independence means, because I think there are many dimensions from it. When you look at it in terms of the colonizers, yes, we did get independence from the colonizers, but then now we are trying to see, looking at it from the aspect of economic freedom. Where are we in such terms?
Yeah.
Are we really free? Because yeah, you might be in employment from someone, but then you'll find that because you have that fear of expressing yourself if you're being infringed upon, the fear of losing your job. So you find that certain people, suppress our rights because you don't have that freedom to express yourself or fight for your rights. And for me, I think my little understanding is that it borders on, perhaps maybe I can say, ignorance of the law.
Okay.
We don't actually understand, the law and how we can be protected, and that you can actually stand up for your rights without creating havoc or causing havoc, but merely by using the law, standing by it. So the mere fact that we have very little command of the law, I see myself and a lot of other ordinary Zambians having their rights infringed upon. Hence where I'm trying to say that yes, we are free as a nation, but as people, I think there are a lot of aspects that are holding us back, and I'm only just able to understand that ignorance of the law is one of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a very interesting view, and
So
really, I wouldn't want us to try to block, to block the interpretation of whatever we're discussing, as we're discussing independence here. It's important really for us to look at it from various angles and see what it means to us, what it means to everyone. How do individuals look at it? How does everyone, look at independence? How can we explain it? How can we define it? Or how does it apply in our private lives as individuals now? How do I look myself? How do I look at myself? Do I think I'm independent or not? So it's really quite complex, and we should be able to look at it from those angles. Okay, Betha.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sydney, my brother. Thank you so much for the presentation. My apologies, I joined the discussion late, and I'm having a few internet challenges. So
Okay, I can see just upon her mentioning that she has internet challenges, they also kick in immediately.
I've been on and off, but perspective, talk about freedom, our political environment, our economic scenario, our social scenario, all that comes into play. And I think, personally, I think there's much to be desired, especially when we look at our political and economic scene. But from a personal perspective, I noted that Brother Sydney mentioned to say, even as an individual, how do you interpret this concept of independence? I think if we are really going to argue that we are independent, it should start from the person as an individual alone in their own space, away from what government can do for me, what my family can do for me, and so on. Okay, the starting point is what were the objectives of independence? Some of the key ones: land, or the good land is in the hands of the colonial leaders. The need to leaders, okay, and just a sense of self-respect and self-dignity, which we do not see during the colonial era. Now, when we get back to where we are now, 56 years after independence, can I, as an individual in my own space, claim to at least have a benefit of why my forefathers shed all that blood? Can I personally say I can look at myself as an independent individual who has a sense of self-respect, a sense of self-dignity in this country of ours, or in this my country, because I'm a citizen of this country. I have a right to feel respected and have a sense of identity. And I think that starts with me. It doesn't have to come with the political party in power. It doesn't have to come from the congregation I go to. But on my own accord, how do I look at myself? Do I stand up and look at myself as a proud citizen of this land? Do I look at my abilities? Do I wake up in the morning and feel beautiful and special just as I am? Okay. I usually tell my students to say, the colonial imprint is still there. We are not yet independent, because even when you look at yourself, you don't want to see yourself as being complete as an individual. You still want to carry yourself with this Brazilian hair. You still want to apply creams on your face to look lighter. So that colonial thing is still there, and we still need to fight it 56 years after independence. The question of land, how many of us Zambians right now, young women and young men, can claim to even have a portion of land to our name? Okay, and yet there's so much land out there. We are all bundled up in Lusaka and fighting each other in the compounds, fighting over small pieces of land. And yet where we're coming from in our villages, there are thousands and thousands of hectares of land which you can own. Right now, when I go to my village, I find posters in Chinese. I can't even read what is there. But a Chinese person is able to cross oceans from China to come and own land in my village. While me, as a citizen of this land, I'm squeezed up in a one room that I'm renting in Chaisa. Okay, can we really claim to be independent then? Okay, can we really claim to say what my forefathers fought for, I am here benefiting right now, when I don't even have a square meter of land that I can claim to be mine? Okay. I also talked about, what did I talk about? The freedom to vote, to choose my own leaders. Okay, we have that freedom, we have that right. Right now, as I'm speaking, registration for voters, I think, has started. But how many of us have even taken that keen interest to go and register ourselves as voters? The online registration started a long time ago. How many of us have even registered? We never take these matters seriously. Personally, I think what matters most is, let me register myself as a voter. Let me cast my vote. It doesn't matter if the outcome would be that my preferred candidate has won or not, but let me exercise that right, because my grandfather lost his life fighting for me to have that right. But there are so many of us Zambians right now who are taking that right casually. Even next year's election, you hear the statistics of the number of people who are registered as voters who didn't even show up to vote, or of the age to exercise the right to vote, who still didn't even register, didn't even show up to vote. So I think outside the challenges of the economy, outside the challenges of political leaders, outside the challenges of various of our social factors, there's a lot that we can do even as an individual at a personal basis to say, my forefathers fought for this. How am I actualizing it as an individual, as a citizen of this land? I think that would be my submission, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that submission. And it really comes back to the same thing. Before we can talk about, collective independence, let's talk about our individual independence. I think really the importance of that view again is that it's individuals that form the collective. So if an individual does not feel independent, then we should definitely not expect the collective to feel independent. So it has to start at our own levels, and we always have to start thinking now, what am I doing to feel independent? Because we also have to contribute to it. It's not just a matter of getting this impression that we're independent, but what are we doing to feel like that? That's really very true. Anyway, we have run out of time. I think we have less than 2 minutes. I'll ask Sydney to say his last remarks and just quick comments on the two contributions that have been made. Sydney?
Okay, it has been an interesting presentation. Thanks, Jesse and Betha. It's I think the major thing for me that I've learned that we need even to take serious is the issue of defining freedom from our own personal point of view. Hello, are you there? My phone seems to be acting up.
No, we can hear you.
Yeah. So from hello.
Yes, you are clear. We can hear you.
Okay. Okay. Yes. So we need to look at the definition and understanding of what liberty is and the freedoms we have, alongside the responsibilities and obligations that we have to our communities and to our nation. The total freedom, as we mentioned, how proud are we maybe just with our own identity? Can I start with a name? How proud am I with my own name and free to express how I feel about it? How am I contributing into freeing my society by how I live my life? I love what Jesse brought out and Betha, where we take responsibility, what we can do within our own means as citizens.
Yeah.
We have certain duties like just casting the vote. We are now preparing, and most of us, we are already saying, can you vote come 2021? But it's the same people who would not change anything. But by so doing, by not me taking responsibility, I'm actually surrendering my freedom to this person who might not respect my space because I didn't exercise my right and my duty, which I needed to do. So making of this 56 years of potential, it's each of us's responsibility, especially starting at personal level, to make it a reality that the young people ask a question.
Hello.
You have to see young people come and say, yes, what did Moyo do? What did Betha do? What did Jesse do? Yes, Jesse and Sydney and Betha, they took responsibility towards by doing what they could within their own means. They voiced out, even if like Jesse gave a scenario where at a workplace things are rough. Sometimes you need to, of course, it's not an easy thing in an economic setup like this where you sacrifice your life so that others can be free. It's never easy. But the future we want, it's on us who can create it. We have to transform the independence myth into a reality by doing whatever we could as.
Okay, so I think we are losing Sydney there. Yeah, but I think anyway, what Sydney is saying is clear, and I totally agree. Anyway, so we'll have to end our discussion here. It was interesting. I would like to thank you for making those comments, and we'll be sharing the next topic, the topic for for next week in due course. So thank you so much for listening in. We can end our discussion now. So bye-bye to everyone until next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.